Solar eclipse on March 29th, 2025. A prophetic sign in God's cycle? Human history records numerous astronomical events viewed as messages from God, signaling warnings, awakenings, or historic turning points. On March 29th, 2025, a rare phenomenon, a total solar eclipse, will darken the sky, astonishingly coinciding with the Shemitah cycle, 7 years, and potentially relating to the Jubilee cycle, 50 years, in the Bible. This event raises the question, could this be a fulfilled prophecy, marking a major transformation in the world? According to the Bible, phenomena such as solar eclipses are often associated with God's intervention, marking periods of judgment, renewal, or global upheaval. In this regard, the Shemitah, 7-year, and Jubilee, 49 to 50-year cycles, are considered sacred patterns that reflect the operating principles of God. Specifically, Shemitah, Leviticus 25, 1-7. In the 7th year of the cycle, the land is given rest, debts are forgiven, and the economy is restructured. Jubilee, Leviticus 25, 8-13. In the 50th year, all prisoners are freed, land returns to its original owners, and justice is restored. History shows that these cycles often coincide with times of crisis, such as economic collapse, war, or political change. For example, the Shemitah year 2007-2008 coincided with the global financial crisis. The Shemitah year 1916-1917 was related to World War I and the Balfour Declaration, a precursor to the establishment of Israel. With the 2025 solar eclipse occurring during the Shemitah cycle of 2023-2029, many scholars believe it may be a prophetic milestone marking the shift from warning to fulfillment in God's plan. Notably, the eclipse will traverse regions such as Greenland, Europe, and the Middle East, lands laden with biblical symbolism, further bolstering the hypothesis of a transformative event. The big question remains, is humanity on the brink of a Jubilee, a period of restored justice, or are we facing a wave of judgment due to today's moral, political, and environmental instabilities? Shemitah cycle. The economic social warning from the Bible. According to Leviticus 25, 7, the Shemitah cycle, 7 years, is a sacred pattern established by God, requiring the 7th year to be a land rest year, where debts are forgiven and the financial system is restructured. However, history shows that Shemitah is not confined solely to agricultural significance, but is also linked to global upheavals, from economic crises and wars to political changes. Specifically, past Shemitah cycles have often coincided with key historical events: 1916 to 1917, the peak of World War I, accompanied by the Balfour Declaration, 1917, the foundation for the eventual establishment of the State of Israel. 1930-1931, a massive economic depression that left millions unemployed and bankrupt. 2007-2008, the global financial crisis, which led to the collapse of major banks and prolonged economic downturn. 2020-2022, the COVID-19 pandemic that shocked healthcare systems, along with the Russia-Ukraine conflict, 2022, that disrupted energy security. The current Shemitah cycle, 2023-2029, is drawing special attention as the total solar eclipse on March 29, 2025, appears near the midpoint of this period. Against the backdrop of a precarious global economy, rising inflation, escalating geopolitical conflicts, and a climate crisis, many prophetic scholars believe that this event could mark a turning point from warning to action in God's plan. Notably, the regions that will witness the 2025 eclipse, Europe, Greenland, and parts of the Middle East, are considered hotspots of political and religious significance, prompting biblical researchers to question, is this a sign of institutional collapse or a restructuring in line with God's will? Regardless of the interpretation, the Shemitah cycle remains a reminder of the cyclical nature of history and the necessity of spiritual preparation in the face of unforeseen upheavals. Jubilee year, the Great Rest cycle, and the opportunity to restore justice. According to Leviticus 25:8-13, the Jubilee year is a 50-year cycle, equivalent to 7 cycles of Shemitah, 7 years. Regarded as a time of sacred great rest, it is the year of complete debt cancellation, the return of land to its original owners, the emancipation of slaves, and the re-establishment of social justice. Unlike the Shemitah, which focuses on the economy, the Jubilee signifies a comprehensive restoration, both materially and spiritually. History records that Jubilee years often coincide with pivotal historical turning points. 1967. Some biblical. Scholars consider this a Jubilee year, coinciding with the Six-Day War and Israel's reclaiming of Jerusalem. 1917. The Balfour Declaration, a precursor to the establishment of Israel, is also seen as a fulfillment within the Jubilee cycle. In the current context, the year 2025, the time of the total solar eclipse, is speculated to possibly coincide with the next Jubilee. This event gains further attention as it appears amid a series of upheavals: a global financial crisis, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, tensions in the Middle East, and a decline in social morals. Two prominent views emerge regarding the significance of Jubilee 2025: positive perspective, an opportunity to revive justice, exposing corrupt forces, erasing national debts, and establishing peace. Warning perspective, a phase of judgment where nations that oppose God face consequences and decaying institutions collapse. Regardless of the interpretation, the appearance of the 2025 solar eclipse within the Jubilee cycle underscores one message: God is in control of history. On the eve of this moment, believers are called to repentance and to be prepared for all scenarios, whether restoration or trial. Solar eclipses in the Bible. A sign, heralding a time of transformation. The Bible frequently mentions solar eclipses as extraordinary natural signs, closely linked with significant events. Jesus once referred to the darkening of the sun as a prelude to his return. Matthew 24:29. Prophetic books such as Joel 2:31 and Revelation 6:12 also describe this phenomenon as a portent of the end times. History records that many solar eclipses have coincided with major events, leading scholars to view them as divine imprints in God's plan. 3 notable recent and upcoming solar eclipses. 2017. The first total solar eclipse in the U.S. after 99 years, occurring during the Shemitah cycle 2015-2022. Many believe this was a warning before the political and social upheavals in the U.S. and Israel. Shemitah 2024, a solar eclipse forming an X across North America, intersecting the path of the 2017 eclipse, creating a symbol likened to a cross in the sky. This event has sparked speculation about a phase of judgment or purification. 2025. A solar eclipse observable from Greenland to the Middle East, appearing in the midst of the Shemitah cycle 2023-2029. Its location evokes biblical prophecies concerning the Middle East, such as the fall of empires or the return of the Messiah. The prophetic significance of the 2025 eclipse. Timing. It falls in the middle of the Shemitah cycle, often seen as a phase of trial or transition in the biblical model. Geography. The path of the eclipse covers the Middle East, a region considered the epicenter of end times events. Historical connection. Similar to the eclipse of 33 AD, which coincides with the time of Jesus' crucifixion, the 2025 eclipse may mark a spiritual or historical turning point. Nonetheless, the Bible does not directly regard solar eclipses as apocalyptic retribution, but emphasizes their role as a call to awakening. Whether one believes in their prophetic nature or not, this event invites reflection on one's place within the flow of sacred history. 2025. The midpoint of Shemitah. A turning point in prophetic history. The year 2025 is regarded as a pivotal moment within the Shemitah cycle, 2023-2029, with the total solar eclipse on March 29th serving as a profound prophetic midpoint marker. In the Bible, the midpoints of cycles often signal a phase of trial or transition, shifting from warning to fulfillment. 4 factors that make 2025 unique. Cycle position. The 2025 eclipse occurs nearly at the very center of the Shemitah cycle, 2023-2029, a cycle believed to be connected to the collapse of the old order, both financial and political, and the establishment of a new one. Observational geography. This eclipse will traverse Greenland, Iceland, Europe, and part of the Middle East, regions linked to biblical prophecies concerning Israel and final battles. Ezekiel 38:39, Revelation 16:12-16. Global context. The world is facing the Russia-Ukraine conflict, an energy crisis, record inflation, and moral decay, signs that align with the Shemitah scenario of judgment or restructuring. Connection with the tribulation. Some scholars believe that the Shemitah cycle, 2023-2029, may coincide with the 7-year tribulation, Daniel 9:27, with 2025 representing the midpoint, the moment when evil reigns before the Lord returns. Possible scenarios include economic, a collapse of the stock market and global monetary system due to overwhelming public debt. Political, escalation of conflicts in the Middle East, leading to large-scale warfare. Spiritual, an increase in the persecution of Christians coupled with a robust revival of faith. Whatever the interpretation, the 2025 eclipse serves as a reminder of the urgency to awaken and be prepared. Rather than succumbing to fear, Christians are called to focus on the reign of Christ, live righteously, and spread the hope of the gospel amid the crisis. Shemitah cycle and historical events. A recurring pattern of upheaval. World history records many Shemitah cycles that coincidentally align with landmark economic, political, and military events. From a biblical perspective, these are not merely random coincidences, but reflect the divine law of judgment and renewal established by God. Notable Shemitah cycles in history. 1916–1917. World War I reached its peak with the Battle of the Somme, 1916, while the Balfour Declaration, 1917, was issued, paving the way for the establishment of the State of Israel, 1948. 1930–1931. A global depression began with the U.S. stock market crash, causing global GDP to drop by 15%. 1945–1946. World War II ended, but the world entered the Cold War. This was also the period when the United Nations was founded, shaping a new international order. 1972–1973. The global oil crisis erupted after the Yom Kippur War, leading to rampant inflation and economic recession. 2000–2001. The 9/11 attacks shocked the United States, triggering the Afghanistan War and changing the global security landscape. 2007–2008. The financial crisis, originating in the U.S., left 30 million people unemployed and reduced global GDP by 0.1%. 2014–2015. Tensions between Russia and Ukraine escalated, accompanied by the rise of ISIS and a massive wave of migration into Europe. The Shemitah cycle, 2023–2029, and forecast for 2025. In the current context, the world is facing multifaceted crises, record inflation, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, tensions between China and Taiwan, and climate disasters. According to historical patterns, the midpoint of the Shemitah, 2025, may be a turning point with scenarios such as economy, collapse of the USD-based monetary system, shifting to digital currency or gold. Politics, an outbreak of conflict in the Middle East, involving Iran or Turkey. Spiritual, an increase in the persecution of Christians, accompanied by a revival of faith in Asia and Africa. Although the prophetic nature of the Shemitah cannot be confirmed, this recurring pattern reminds humanity of the fragility of artificial systems and the necessity of seeking an eternal foundation in God.